Well, let me tell you this story. Last week, I was in Brussels, and I got a request from a guy, could he come and see me? An elderly man in his middle, late 70s, with a very distinguished career behind him. This guy had been a Greek ambassador to several major countries around the world. He'd even, on behalf of the Greek government, negotiated back in the early 1980s, Greece's membership of the European community. So I'm talking about somebody here who is a real establishment figure in Greece, and a very charming and a very nice man in many ways. And what he told me frightened the life out of me. He said to me, Nigel, I got to tell you that at the weekend, I went down to the back streets of Athens and I bought myself a Kalashnikov. And I looked at him and I sort of blinked a bit and thought, did I hear that right? He said, yes. He said, I got to tell you that myself and my friends, those of us that are comparatively well off, we live on the outskirts of Athens, we live in big detached houses, and we're all going down, and for €100, buying Kalashnikovs because we believe the time is close when we're going to have to defend our property. So desperate are the ordinary poor people for food and possession. And when you think about, somebody of that social status who is so scared he's buying a Kalashnikov to defend his family, you realize that we've actually got in some of these countries, we are on the edge. We are literally on the edge of a total breakdown in society. And, I'm sure there are some big banks and big industrialists who perhaps are rubbing their hands and saying, well, the sooner Greece goes bankrupt, the better, because we can buy up the shipyards and buy up the islands and buy up the land. But the sheer price in human suffering, I don't think that, frankly, the world's normal, formal media is not giving the right level of attention to.
Well, the globalists are going to have a lot of trouble ever getting away with this. I mean, that's the problem. They're committing such huge crimes. Look what they did in Argentina 12 years ago. They've done this over and over again. And the worst part is they then scapegoat capitalism and blame it when this is not capitalism doing this. This is bureaucratic crony insiders robbing everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost a new form of communism, isn't it, really? If you think about it, it is the state and the big banks wanting to control absolutely everybody's lives. They couldn't give a damn about how much human suffering and misery they cause. They're stripping away the basic fundamentals of liberty, of democracy, of all the things that we in the West have held dear for years. And I have to say that for many, many years over here, I was a very lonely voice. But I tell you what, I'm hearing more voices now, and there are more people, even amongst the political class, who are now having the courage to stand up and say things.
Amazing. Nigel Farage, one last segment with you. We'll be back with some other key questions straight ahead. All right, final segment. I could talk to this guy for 10 hours. He's a hard guy to get on with. He was just meeting with the new appointed dictator of Italy right before he got on the show. But here he is with us, the Ron Paul of Britain and now of Europe. I mean, really emerging as the main focal point leader along with UKIP, ukip.org, if folks want to get involved with a true group fighting for sovereignty against this global tyranny. We were talking during the break about him surviving a horrible freak plane crash that the pilot's still in really bad shape from, and how suspicious that was, but hopefully they won't have a second one, because then it'll really be obvious. We were talking about getting out of the euro, but you were pointing out during the break, it's designed as a fraud, and so it's like impossible to get out of unless people just wake up to the fraud.
Yeah, I mean, these guys that set this European project up were very, very clever, very, very devious people, and they wrote the treaties in such a way that you were designed to get into the thing, but never, ever to be able to get out of the thing. It's rather like a lobster pot or a crab pot. There's a nice juicy bait, and you can get into the pot easily, but getting out's impossible. So there are no provisions in the European treaties for any country ever leaving the euro. That is how they set this whole thing up. These are bad people, and as far as I'm concerned, these treaties should be declared null and void, because the most massive fraud has been perpetrated upon the peoples of Europe. And I think the great public, in France and in Germany, the ordinary people are beginning to wake up to what's been done in their names.
Ron Paul, what's your perspective on how the media has been ignoring him and demonizing him?
It's fascinating. fascinating. I must say, the more I listen to and the more I read what Ron Paul has to say, the more fascinated and the more respect I have for this guy, because this guy's got courage. He understands that people want to be set free from big government, and he's not, he's not scared of taking on any issue at all. And I watch him. There was one of the primaries the other day where Ron Paul got 27%, an amazing figure, and yet the BBC virtually refuse to even admit the fact that he's actually contesting the race. And I understand that many conventional parts of the US media have been the same. And it's kind of, you get a Ron Paul figure that comes along and challenges basic assumptions. And perhaps to some extent I've tried to do some of the same things over on this side of the Atlantic. And it's like a media blackout. So I just admire Ron Paul. He's worked hard at this for years. And whilst he's not going to become the president, I think the ideas that he's sowing in America, and particularly amongst the younger generation, those ideas will survive long after Ron Paul.
All right, in closing, sir, and I've, again, been honored to have you with us right after your meeting with the dictator of Italy. Is the tide turning? Has it turned, or are we close to turning it? I mean, where would you put us on a timeline? Because, I mean, now you can see the euro collapsing. It's being talked about more. Or will it just collapse into something even worse?
We are now entering in Europe the single most dangerous period that we've been in since 1945, and I don't say that lightly. This is because, as the project fails, the determination of its authors to maintain the project becomes greater. We've already seen them do things that nobody could have believed. The removal of elected prime ministers in Greece and Italy perhaps being the best example of that. I even wonder, if in the end the Greek police force won't put down their own citizens, whether the EU itself might even move a force in. These people are bad people. They are capable of virtually anything. But however strong their determination to keep this thing going, the fact is that the fundamentals, the economic fundamentals, say that in the end the global markets are going to break it, and there is going to be the most massive rebellion across Europe. In some countries, it'll manifest itself in the ballot box. In other it will manifest itself, as I've said already tonight, in some kind of revolution that will take place. I think, I have to say, all the years I've been in politics, I think in terms of Europe and its future, 2012 is the key crucial year. I believe, if I have to make a prediction, I believe, however hard they try, that Greece will leave the euro this year. She will go back to the drachma, she'll have a devaluation, her economy will start recovering, and then the Portuguese will say, we want out too, and the Spanish will say,
incredible, incredible. Okay, we've gone into overdrive with Nigel Farage, of course, a member of the European Union Parliament, the main leader of the UK Independence Party, and just an amazing individual who, if you haven't, the reason I'm a big fan, and I'm talking about big fan, like people are soccer fans or football fans, I'm a fan of people kicking globalists hind end. And they hate him when he gets up there to those sniveling slime bags like Rumpy. He's been censured or threatened with censure as well. But he was finishing up with his prediction. So recap that and finish up, sir.
Yeah. Well, I think 2012 is going to be the single most important year that we've seen in Europe, certainly in the time that I've been involved in politics. Everything is coming to a head. These guys will do everything they can to try and defend their Euro project and to try and keep their big government project going, but they're having trouble with the markets, they're having trouble with the peoples of Europe as they were in Athens standing up and rebelling. That in 2012, Greece will leave the euro. And once one country is left the euro, had a devaluation, and other countries see that suddenly, with a currency at the right level, suddenly investment starts to come in, people start going on holidays to their country. I think then we'll see countries like Portugal, Ireland, Spain, and possibly even Italy saying to themselves, hey, we've been sold a pup here. This thing's a con. We've got to get our currencies back. We've got to get our democracies back. I am confident that 2012 will mark the beginning of the end of this appalling, disgusting project.
Wow. So when you met, just briefly, when you met with Mario today, the technocrat installed by the EU weasels, I mean, what did he say to you? What did you ask him?
I said he had no legitimacy at all, that he was an appointee, he'd spent his life as a European commissioner and working for Goldman Sachs, and that he represented all that was worse in this whole new global government movement that you talk about so often on your program. And his response is that the crisis is so serious that democracy has to be suspended just for a short while so that we can sort everything out. You know, we've seen, haven't we, in the past, countries that claim emergency powers. Hitler did it in Germany, suspended democracy because of an emergency and never ever gave it back. And I don't think these guys have any intention of giving democracy back and say, we the people have got to take it from them. It could be turbulent, it could be difficult, some of it could be unpleasant, but it's a fight we've got to fight. And I think we've got to remember that those that went before us, who actually created democracy, liberty, and freedom of the individual, these guys were actually prepared to go to war, to fight to defend these things. We, I'm afraid, are going to have to do much the same kind of thing.
All right, we've only got a minute left, and again, we appreciate your time. Was this on the floor? Was this videoed? Because I know they're admitting we're getting rid of freedom, but I mean, to have them publicly admitting it to you, or was this privately?
No, this was privately, and it's always a combination here. You know, you get the chance on the floor to speak to these people, but sometimes meeting them in private is more interesting. And I had a very interesting meeting with Angela Merkel in November. I said, Chancellor Merkel, this isn't working. The German taxpayers are putting huge amounts of money in to bail out the banks through the Greek government. Wouldn't it be better for everybody to admit that the euro's a failure and to let Greece leave? She said, Mr. Farage, we can't do that, because if Greece leaves, all the others will leave. And if they all leave, the European project will fail. And then we'll just go back to being nation states from their own mouths.
Unbelievable. And choice and sovereignty and honor, incredible. So is the arrogance a act like with Al Gore, or do you think they're still delusional? I mean, are you seeing a change in their spirit as they lose momentum?
Interestingly, 6 months ago, there was a sort of feeling of blind panic over here. Everything was going wrong. They were terrified, and you could see the fear on their faces. I'm not seeing any fear at all now. It's as if perpetual crisis has become a new form of government, and they now realise that they can actually get away with almost anything. At least they think they can get away with anything. For a country the size of Italy, to have somebody like this man Monti appointed to take it over, and for that to have happened, they are completely out of control.
Well, it's not the first time they had Mussolini. Nigel Farage, thank you so much for the time. UKIP.org. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, folks, there he goes. Amazing. Key info coming up. And then back tonight, 7 o'clock Central. Don't forget, I'm speaking in Dallas this weekend. Info at Infowars.com/events. You can still get tickets to that. All right, incredible. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.
I'm sure there are some big banks and big industrialists who perhaps are rubbing their hands and saying, well, the sooner Greece goes bankrupt, the better, because we can buy up the shipyards and buy up the islands and buy up the land. But the sheer price in human suffering, I don't think that, frankly, the world's normal, formal media is not giving the right level of attention. They looked at him, and I sort of blinked a bit and thought, did I hear that right? He said, yes. He said, I've got to tell you that myself and my friends, those of us that are comparatively well off, we live on the outskirts of Africa, we live in big detached houses, and we're all going down, and for 100 euros, buying Kalashnikovs, because we believe the time is close when we're going to have to defend our property. So definitely. Yeah, well, let me tell you this story. Last week, I was in Brussels, and I got a request from a guy, could he come and see me? An elderly man in his late 70s with a very distinguished career behind him. This guy had been a Greek ambassador to several major countries around the world. He'd even, on behalf of the Greek government, negotiated back in the early 1980s for the ordinary poor people for food and possession. And when you think about, somebody of that social status who is so scared he's buying a Kalashnikov to defend his family, you realize that we've actually got in some of these countries, we are on the edge. We are literally on the edge of a total breakdown in society. And, Greece's membership of the European community. So I'm talking about somebody here who is a real establishment figure in Greece, and a very charming and a very nice man in many ways. And what he told me frightened the life out of me. He said to me, Nigel, I got to tell you that at the weekend, I went down to the back streets of Athens and and I bought myself a Kalashnikov.